Welcome to the place where we learn about and learn from the leaders in our field who are powering human creativity. I am Aaron Dworkin, and this is Arts Engines. Thanks again for joining me here on Arts Engines. Today's guest is Andrés Cárdenes, who is a violinist, world-renowned, distinguished artist in residence at Lynn University's Conservatory of Music. Andrés, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Aaron. Great to be with you.
So it's so great to be able to be with you. And of course, I've just had the distinct honor to be able to really see so much of your work and impact on our field, on the world, on young people, on audiences. And so it is absolutely wonderful to have you on the show. So not to kind of start off with the world encompassing question, but I think maybe the world is in a place now where we should, which is that I'd love to get your perspective as a leading artist and as someone who is not only on stages in front of audiences, but in there in studios preparing the next generation and especially at Lynn University, one of our great partners and creative partners. What do you feel is the role that the arts can or should be playing, given kind of our world environment?
Well, I've always said that music and concerts have never solved a war or solved humanity's issues. All we can do is put a salve on it, really, and try to refocus ourselves. I think the main issue that has been plaguing many of our countries and our own country in particular is the fact that we're just all going in separate directions. There's not a lot unifying us, and everybody has a different opinion about X, Y, and Z, and so music is a thing that can coalesce all of us together. We can coalesce, I can't tell you, Aaron, how many times I've played places where people came to me and said, I really, really needed this concert. I really needed to listen to this music. I really needed to go out and experience this and get outside my troubles and outside of television and on my cell phone. This is such a relief, such a blessing to have this. And so again, it doesn't solve world wars. What it does, though, is it helps us to be a civilization. It helps us to be a society, and it helps our humanity. This is what makes us human. Music is a very basic need and a very basic factor in our existence. And without it, I think we're headed to doom. Really, we're doomed, because when we lose our humanity, then we truly have nothing in common.
Yeah, absolutely. And there is, this thing, people could be on totally polar opposites of the political spectrum, but they come together for one of your concerts, and they have that, you capturing that exact, where they come out going, I needed that. And it doesn't necessarily mean now all of a sudden they magically politically agree, but are they more tolerant of each other? Are they more open to communication and empathy? And so what I'm wondering kind of, and especially we have so many in our audience who are practicing artists or educators, is there any kind of key things that you think either we should be teaching the next generation of artists, or that those who are current professional practitioners can be doing to maximize the impact that the arts has? Are there things we could be doing in our concerts, or how we prepare, or how we think about repertoire, or we think about even how we practice our art? Are there any kind of core things that you either do or have been thinking about that you think can enhance or enrich this role that we have?
It's a wonderfully provocative question, because, of course, if we look back 200 years ago, people were playing music of their time, and here we are 200-300 years later, and we're still playing people's music of that time. And so we've needed to kind of morph, we've needed to evolve, and I think we need to be playing more current music, of course. That's one major factor. The other thing is that I think there are some just tired stereotypes about music and repertoire and composers, et cetera, et cetera. And these tired stereotypes only serve to keep people away. Really, it's what it does. It keeps people away. Of course, all the standards like Beethoven Fifth, of course, they're always going to attract Beethoven Ninth. They're always going to attract audiences. But really, there's so many eclectic, interesting pieces being written today by so many eclectic and different types of composers. I think I'd like to just say that when I was growing up 40, 50 years ago, when I was starting to play, we played Bach, Beethoven, and Brahms. And now I've morphed into playing so much contemporary music and playing music, people of color, indigenous people's music. It's been such a great wealth of growth. And I think that people just need to focus on the current situation, focus on trying to help and support their current colleagues, and try to promote, this natural evolving of music. And I think we can't just stick our head in the ground and keep saying that the old formulas work. They just don't anymore. And that's why orchestras are in trouble. That's why there's less interest in the arts. And we have to keep reaching out to people on the human side, on the societal side. And without that, again, we're headed to doom, because music, it cannot just be a thing of the past. It's got to be constantly evolving and moving forward.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And there
So
are places for people to find niches too today. I think 50 years ago, these niches didn't exist. Now we have all kinds of things, like your wonderful organization that you founded, Sphinx. There's so many things that people can gravitate to expand. And that didn't exist 50 years ago. Now we have these opportunities, need to take advantage of them.
absolutely. And so kind of switching gears just a little bit, you have such a breadth to what you do. And so whether it's educating, whether it's performing, conducting, serving on juries, right? All of these facets, there are definitely professionals and also those who are aspiring as they build their careers who often feel like, overwhelmed and doing, and often even with far less breadth than, what I described that you do. Any kernels of advice, systems that you use, ways in which you're able to manage a breadth of artistic, experiences that you're able to have, and craft that you're able to bring to society?
Well, I think, when people talk about talent, that generally they talk about whether you play your instrument well or if you have a certain acuity for playing the instrument well. But talent, to me, is a much broader definition of what your capabilities are. And so really my talent as a violinist or as a musician isn't just that I'm relatively, adept at it. It's just that I'm also very organized and I'm very efficient. And I'm a monumental hater of time wasting. And when I practice, I'm very efficient. So when people say to me, "Oh, you got 100 concertos in your repertoire. How did you do that?" And I said, efficiency, perseverance, efficiency. Just practice what you need to practice. Don't practice 10 hours, mindlessly, but practice 2 hours really intensely and very focused, and get the job done and have a goal. Every time you sit down to practice, you have to have a goal. You have to accomplish something every time you sit down. And I think that's how it is. When I've got to do a lot of different things, I get organized, I write it out, I say, okay, I'm going to work on this, I'm going to do this today. I've got to finish this much by today to be ready by X day. So it's complicated. So it's a major puzzle, but I like the puzzle part. I like having to prepare. I like figuring out how I'm going to make this all happen. I have to say, the number one thing is that I'm still extremely passionate about everything I do. I love everything I do. So to me, in a way, it's not really work. It's just sort of, I have to do this puzzle thing, so I just do it. When I get to it's like traveling. I don't really like to travel, but I like getting places, I like going places and being places. Not necessarily like getting there. And that's what the puzzle represents. Sort of, I have to get to this point. I got to go through the puzzle to make it work.
Awesome, awesome. So unfortunately, we are just about out of time, but I always like to ask of all of my guests, you have, of course, this extraordinary career and as you said, this passion that you have for everything you do. but there still probably has to be tough days or days where it feels like whatever the challenge is may not be able to be overcome. Any mechanisms that you utilize, things that you do to find either that perseverance or places of courage during the toughest times?
You know, Aaron, I always think about how much more important music is than me, you know, on a grand scale. When I go to a concert and to perform or conduct, I always think about how many people are in the audience who had just as rough a day as I have, and maybe much worse, and maybe they have relatives that are ill, or problems with their children, or addiction issues, and you think, you know, you got 2 hours to make an impact, and if you could just divert your attention from yourself and apply it to the music and to the people that you're trying to inspire or help or nurture or relieve them of their daily struggles, then I don't really find myself, you know, suffering too much from, you know, issues that may be trying to derail my life. I just refocus myself to getting the job done and remembering that there are others there for maybe the same reasons that I'm conducting, you know, that I need that release too, and I need that inspiration and that feeling of joy and that feeling of connection. And you know, many, many years ago, there was a man, W. Clement Stone, who came to talk at Interlochen, and I never forgot his words. I was 15 years old. He said, "You must live your life for something that outlasts it. Do something with your life that it outlasts your lifetime." And I thought, you know, that's exactly how I want to live my life. I just want to, whatever I leave behind, I just want to make sure that it's been my best effort and that it hopefully uplifted as many people as possible.
Andrés Cárdenes, you truly are one of the arts engines who is powering human creativity in our world. Thank you for everything you do, and thank you for being on the show.
Thank you, Aaron, and all the best to you. Thank you so much.